Anti-Afro Svengalis. I meant to do this last week, and I got a couple of emails saying, when are you going to tell the story about your arrest warrant? Well, let me clarify. I actually had a bench warrant. Let me explain the difference. If you have a warrant issued for your arrest, that means you are suspected of committing a crime, and the police have gone to the court and requested a judge allow them to arrest you and charge you with this criminal offense or criminal offenses. A bench warrant is when you fail to appear at a specific date and time or on or before a specific date and time. That's a bench warrant. Someone on probation or parole who commits another crime will be issued an arrest warrant, just like we would. Say we're not on probation or parole and we commit a crime and the detectives submit this request to the judge signs it. It's no difference. But let me say this first before I tell you what happened with me. I want you to think about this because I'm going to return to this at the end of the video, because the purpose of this video is a message, is a lesson, a learning experience. So here goes. Tell me what you think about this. And I'm going to just make up any date for the sake of brevity. But this actually did happen. I'm just modifying the dates. August 21st. Somebody says, I don't have a bench warrant out for me. I just got pulled over by the cops the other day and they didn't take me to jail. So that's a lie. I don't have a warrant. Okay. Let's say on the 14th of August, the person said the same thing. A few days ago, I was pulled over by the cops and I didn't get arrested. So that's a lie. I don't have a warrant. Okay, let's go back to August 7th. I just got pulled over a couple days ago. The cops did not arrest me, so that's a lie. I don't have a warrant. Are we agreeing that we're talking about three separate instances of someone claiming to have been pulled over? And again, I'm just making up dates just to illustrate a point, but this actually did happen with different dates, three separate times at least. Hold on to that thought because I'm going to come back to it because it's part of the lesson and the message I'm going to be conveying today. So what happened with me, this is some time ago, back in the day when you were able to call the courthouse and get an extension on a ticket. So you can show up at a later date. I got a ticket. What did I get a ticket for? Crossing the double line, trying to beat the light to turn left, like the green arrow, and there wasn't room because the cars were backed up. So I scooted around to the left, crossed the double line, made the left turn, and I got pulled over. Well, unfortunately, I was going to a workshop about 25 minutes away from the city I was living in at the time. The city I got pulled over in is not friendly to Black folks or other minorities, so I was not crazy about coming back there. But at any rate, I was going to go back there because I don't mess around with this kind of situation. If I have an obligation with the court, I'm going to deal with the obligation. I'm not hanging around for no monkey business. So the time keeps creeping up and creeping up and creeping up. And I'm like, damn, I'm not going to have time. I got to get significant time off, probably the whole day, because this is almost 30 minutes away from where I live. So the time creeped up. I think it was like the day before that I finally got through. It was very close and was able to get an extension. Good, I don't have to worry about that. About a couple weeks later, I was going through my mail and I opened up this letter and I thought it was a scam. You've seen those scams where they say, you could be the heir of this $3 million fortune, but in order for us to fully investigate and get your money, you need to send us $1,500. You know, you've seen these mailers come out. So that's what I thought it was. There's a warrant issued for your arrest for failure to appear. I'm going, this is a bunch of crap. Then I'm looking closer. I'm like, wait a minute. It says the name of the city where I got the ticket. So I ran and got the original ticket and I compared the numbers. And yes, there's this warrant, bench warrant issued for me after I called in and got an extension. So of course I'm in this panic because clearly I've been driving around with a bench warrant. Now go ahead and check out the video below the title where this rapper was arrested for failing to appear on a traffic ticket. It doesn't matter what the traffic citation is. If you do not show up to court, they're going to issue a bench warrant. That's just the way it is. So anyway, I was lucky enough to hitch a ride with a friend who works at the hospital in the neighboring city. So I didn't have to take the bus all the way from my home because I was not going to drive. So it took me about 20 minutes when I hopped on the bus from being dropped off with my friend. So I get to court. I wasn't in the first group, I was in the second group. So I get up there and the judge says to me, "Are you wanting to address this today or are you looking to get legal counsel?" I'm going, what the hell? Yes, I'm aware because we already did the oath. When you check in at court, they say everybody raise your hand and they give you your rights and all that stuff, give you the basic court rules. And I said to the judge, I need to resolve this as soon as possible. I use my vehicle for work. That's a requirement. So he starts asking me all these questions. And as he's asking me these questions, I could feel this, I can't even really describe it. While definitely grumblings were being heard. Like people were talking and the deputy or bailiff said, "Quiet in the court." He told everybody to be quiet. And I'm feeling these people are talking about my situation. That's how I felt. So he's asking me just all these questions: where I work, what I do for a living, when I called. He wanted the date that I called. He even asked me to write down my name, first and last name, date of birth, and what number I called from. He gives the bailiff a piece of paper and tells me to write it down. I write it down, and I'm still having this feeling like everybody's looking at me. So he tells me to go ahead and have a seat. In the meantime, you see people coming in and out. Even before I came up to be heard, there were people coming in and out of the court, giving the judge documents, and he was reading from something. I don't know what he was reading from when he was talking to me. So I went to sit down, and the woman next to me said, "He's really grilling you," or something to the effect, like she whispered it to me. And I was just like, whatever, what can I say? And then the person next to me, another woman said, "What do you do for a living?" She's like, "What do you do?" I said, I just kind of waved her off because we're not supposed to be talking, right? But she whispered it. So it was like maybe 30, 45 minutes later, he calls me back up there. And he says to me, or he asked me, "You are in the pull down program." And I'm putting this on the screen here. "Nobody contacted you about this ticket or this failure to appear?" I said, no one said anything. That's why I was shocked. He says, "And when did you get this notice again?" I said, "I got it yesterday in the mail and I'm here today." So he said, "What I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead," and it wasn't like right away. He was reading. Then he eventually said, "I'm going to go ahead and recall this bench warrant and I'm going to remove the failure to appear because you're on this pull down system. And I understand the repercussions of having a failure to appear on your record. You could lose your job." Then he asked me about the actual ticket. What is my position on this ticket? Obviously, I didn't request the officer to appear. I made the left turn. I'm saying to myself, I'm not saying this out loud. I said, "Well, I would like to know if I can go to traffic school." He said, "You're eligible for traffic school, and I would encourage you to complete it without requesting an extension. You're standing here, but I'm addressing everybody. Listen up," or something to the effect. He basically said, everybody's busy. Everybody has work and families. We're rushing around, but if you ever need an extension, you must get an extension. It is strongly advisable that you come physically to the courthouse and go to the business office, because it's the business office, it's called, request the extension and get the document. And you carry it with you. That way you won't have any issues. So he said, you need to go to the business office to get the document that shows the bench warrant has been rescinded, and the failure to appear will be removed. So I go into the business office to sit and wait because there's other people. I had people coming up to me like, was the judge? What do you do for a living? I had said everything in court, and I realized possibly they couldn't hear everything I was saying because my back's to them, and they had this concerned look on their face. So I didn't want to be, I guess I could have said none of your blankety blank business, but I decided to go ahead and give information. People were worried. They thought that their employer is looking at their driving record. They said, well, my boss doesn't even know I'm here. Are they going to find out? People were just asking me all these questions. What is this pull down system? And I had to explain to them, you would know if you're on the pull down system because your employer has to give you a document and you have to fill out the forms and you actually have to consent to it. But if you don't consent to pull down, then there's another agreement that you have to make with your employer, which states you have to notify them on your own within a certain number of days every time you're pulled over. And the people are going, oh my God, I would never want that. They want to know, but what are you doing on your job that is so important? They're going, that you have to have this. They'd never heard of it. So I told them, sometimes we transport people under the age of 18. We transport clients. We use our vehicles to conduct business for the work that we do. And we have to carry insurance, and they want to make sure our driving records are clean. So there was a lot of relief from a lot of people because they thought they were being spied on. So I was correct about people in the courtroom just rumbling and grumbling. I had a lot of concerns because the judge was asking me these questions, but I can't tell you how freaked out I was driving around with a warrant and I didn't even know it. Thank the Lord that this judge, thank you, literally the Lord. I don't even know what to say, okay, about this city is unfriendly to Black folks. All you're doing is telling the truth. I was being truthful. But listen, one of my friends told me, you know what they did? And I believe it. I never thought about it until he brought it up. They went and they looked your number up. Because the courthouse, for those of you who are not aware, remember the courthouses were being threatened with bombs and all that stuff? They developed a system. Every single phone number that comes into the courthouse is recorded. Every single phone number, every single phone call. And it's not going to be hard to determine if I actually called in because there's a specific number that you call in order to request an extension. So he was saying that they looked it up. I said they didn't have a time to do that. Yes, that's why he kept having you sit down. Good, they looked it up, because if they looked it up, they would have found that I'm telling the truth. Between those 2 days, I called, I requested the extension, and I received the date that the person gave me. I actually gave that to the judge. I believe that is the reason why he recalled the warrant. I don't think he was going to come up here and say, well, we looked up your number. Going back to the beginning, you can't fool with the law. Specifically about the claim of having been put over multiple times, and this proves there's no warrant out for my arrest. Don't you find it odd that not a single one of these episodes was even audio recorded? The conversation? It's perfectly legal to record a traffic stop or any encounter with law enforcement. They wouldn't even have to know that you're recording them. And most of the time, they do not. But not a single episode, multiple episodes of being pulled over has ever been captured. Why? Because it's a lie. Again, you can't fool with the law. Even if the situation is a traffic ticket, because the subject even said it one time, just because of a traffic ticket, somebody wants me locked up. It doesn't matter if it's a traffic ticket. If you don't show up to court, they're going to issue a warrant for your arrest. I'm quite sure back in the day, long, long, long time ago, they expected people to utilize the honor system. They were trusted to show up when they got a ticket, and they saw people were not showing up. So they have to have something they're going to hang over your head. We know that. Regardless of what it is, if you get issued any sort of citation or ticket and you do not show up, a bench warrant is eventually going to be issued for your arrest. Let's be specific. What happened with this subject? It's a matter of record, straight to the point. The person was driving on a suspended or revoked license, which is a criminal offense. It is not a traffic infraction. It's a misdemeanor, and the person was placed on probation for 1 year, and the person completely blew it off, aka absconded. So a bench warrant was issued for this person's arrest. That's what happened. It is not a traffic citation slash infraction. But again, if it was indeed an infraction and the person blows it off, it's the same outcome. It happened to me. Although I didn't blow it off, I requested an extension and I still got a bench warrant for whatever the hell happened that day when I called. You can't minimize it. Whether it's a felony or a misdemeanor, if you don't abide by court terms that have been imposed, they're going to issue a warrant for your arrest if you just disappear. And let's not forget the revenue attached to this. You can look it up in your own state. How much revenue does your state draw in from fines, traffic citations, criminal court fines imposed, supervision by probation? It's not free. Why should it be free for probation to supervise? Look what the situation is here. You have an absconded person not paying fines. They're going to get their money. One way or another, they're going to get 5 pounds of flesh. And if you can't pay right away and you've absconded, they're going to put your ass in jail. And they're still going to expect you to come up with money. They're not going to blow it off. Even if you're indigent, they're going to get something from you. They'll find a way to do it. Since the Son of Sam law was struck down, this is when they were prohibiting people who were convicted of crimes from profiting from their crimes. The Supreme Court struck that down. It's a violation of free speech. So now what's happening is they'll go after your commissary in jail or prison. You know, people send you money, you can put on your books. They will levy those funds. It's been ruled that you can't take all the funds. You have to take a portion of the funds. They're going to get their money one way or another. It's a matter of record. This is a subject who loves going around looking up everybody's shit. The bottom line is there's a warrant out for this person's arrest. I think it's comical. I think it's hypocritical. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's an affront that this subject thinks he can go around judging people about their criminal history. If you have a criminal justice background and you've already paid your dues, like you paid your fines, you've been discharged from probation, you have no pending charges, that's over and done with. But someone who hasn't even subjected themselves to the system and has absconded can't speak on anybody else. They haven't paid any dues. They're trying to avoid responsibility. And that's what frauds do. They constantly use other means to get what they need to survive. So I hope this is a lesson. It's a lesson that you know when your responsibilities are calling. And if you ignore your responsibilities, the consequences are going to be rather unpleasant. Eventually, the person is going to get arrested. Who the hell cares about so-and-so wants me arrested? That's not the point. The point is the person has outstanding warrant. It makes no difference what anybody wants. It is what it is. Folks, you know I have more coming your way. In the meantime, you know the drill. Buyer beware.